What if I told you that the rules you thought were a cage were actually the key to real freedom? Today, we're going to dive into a pretty powerful idea that can reframe our whole understanding of God and what it means to live well. We're talking about the concept of the God of the Owner's Manual.
So let's just get right to it with the one question that's at the heart of this whole thing. When you think of rules, especially God's rules, what comes to mind? Do you picture a cage that's hemming you in? Or do you picture a manual designed to help you flourish?
To unpack that, let's think about something we've all experienced. You get a new car, maybe the latest smartphone. You open up the box, and buried under all the cool packaging is that little booklet. You know, the one most of us just ignore. The Owner's Manual.
But what is that manual, really? I mean, it's way more than just a list of don'ts. It's a guide, straight from the people who designed and built the thing, telling you exactly how it's supposed to run to be at its absolute best.
Now imagine looking at that car's manual and thinking, ugh, this is so restrictive. Why can't I drive my car into a lake? I just want to be free. It sounds completely ridiculous, doesn't it?
Right, because if you ignore that manual and you drive that car straight into a lake, you haven't really broken the rules. You've broken the car. You've gone against its fundamental design. So here's the big idea this all points to. What if God's laws aren't a cage, but are actually the owner's manual for the human soul?
This brings us to a really common trap so many of us fall into. We'll call it the performance treadmill. It's this exhausting, nagging belief that we have to obey all the rules in order to be accepted.
You know, the Bible actually speaks directly to this. There's a passage in Romans that says, "For by works of the law, no human being will be justified in his sight." Or, to put it another way, just trying to follow all the rules on your own steam doesn't actually make you right with God.
And yet, isn't this how so many of us view religion? We see the Ten Commandments as this kind of moral ladder. We think we have to climb it, rung by rung, to hopefully maybe earn God's approval. If you're good enough, you're in. If not, well, better try harder. This mindset, which Pastor Tim Keller famously called the performance treadmill, is a total psychological and spiritual trap. Just think about it for a second. If you succeed, if you follow all the rules, you get proud. You become judgmental of everyone who doesn't measure up. But if you fail, you fall into despair and self-loathing. It's a lose-lose. Either way, your heart just becomes hard.
So you really have to stop and ask, is that freedom? Or is it just another kind of prison, where you are constantly haunted by that question, am I good enough?
But what if there's a totally different way to see all of this? This brings us to our next point, freedom by design. The radical, game-changing idea that we find true freedom when we live the way we were actually made to live.
There's this one line in the New Testament that makes a pretty shocking claim. It says, "And his commandments are not burdensome." Wait, what? Not burdensome? How can a list of rules possibly not be a burden?
Well, the secret is in the order of events. When God gave the Ten Commandments, He didn't hand them to the Israelites while they were slaves in Egypt and say, "Okay, obey these perfectly, and then I'll set you free." No, it was the other way around. He rescued them first. He brought them out of slavery, and then He gave them the law. It wasn't a ladder to earn freedom. It was the owner's manual for how to live as free people. The rescue always comes before the rules.
Let me use another illustration to make this crystal clear. Think about a fish and the water it lives in.
So imagine a fish swimming in the ocean, and one day it says, "Man, I'm so tired of the water. It's so restrictive. I want to be truly free out there on the sand." Is that fish actually finding freedom? Of course not. It's finding death, because the water, the very thing that seems to limit it, is the exact environment it was designed for. It's what gives it life.
And that is precisely how God's commandments are meant to work. When the designer says, "do not lie," it's not to ruin your fun. It's because the human soul just wasn't built for the constant friction and chaos that deceit causes. When he says, "do not covet," he's trying to save you from the soul-crushing exhaustion of always wanting what you don't have, see? They're not restrictions, they're the designer's guide to human flourishing.
So if just gritting your teeth and trying harder isn't the answer, what is? Well, that brings us to the absolute core of this whole thing, what we could call the heart transplant. It's all about a fundamental shift in our motivation, from fear to a deep, genuine appreciation.
Centuries ago, the prophet Ezekiel described this transformation perfectly. He said God's promise was, "I will give you a new heart. I will remove from you your heart of stone." And notice, this isn't about just modifying your behavior. It's not a self-help program. It's about a deep,
internal transformation.
Okay, let me tell you a quick story that I think captures this entire idea perfectly. Imagine you're standing in the street. You're distracted, maybe looking at your phone. You don't see it, but a bus is speeding right towards you. Then, out of nowhere, a complete stranger tackles you, pushing you to safety just in the nick of time. You're safe on the sidewalk, but in the act of saving you, they are hit by the bus, and they're killed. Later, you find a letter in their pocket. It's a final wish asking that someone take care of their elderly mother.
Now, think about your motivation in that moment. Would you take care of that mother because you were afraid of the person who died? No way! You would do it out of a place of overwhelming, life-altering gratitude for the incredible sacrifice they made for you.
And that, right there, that's the core message of the Christian gospel. See, obedience isn't how you get rescued. It's the natural, heartfelt response of someone who has been rescued. It's not about what you do to get something from God, it's what you do because God has already given you everything.
This all leads us to our final point, and it's really a choice that every single one of us has to make. It's about a fundamental shift in our perspective, seeing obedience not as a heavy duty, but as a simple thank you.
So, at the end of the day, we're left with two totally different paths. On one side, you have fear-based obedience. Its motto is, I obey in order to be accepted. That's the path of always trying to earn a rescue that feels just out of reach. But on the other side, there's gratitude-based obedience. Its motto is, I obey because I am accepted. This isn't about earning a rescue at all. It's about joyfully responding to one you've already been given.
So the question I want to leave you with is this. Is the goal of your life to spend all your energy frantically climbing a ladder, always hoping you can be good enough? Or is it to finally take a deep breath and just rest in a rescue that has already been accomplished for you?